moment you stop trying to win the day is the moment you actually begin to win it. What if I told you that every morning you stand at the edge of a battlefield where the most important war is fought, not against external enemies, not against circumstances beyond your control, but against the unconscious patterns that have been governing your life since the day you learned to think? Most people wake up defeated before they even open their eyes. They surrender to the same thoughts that visited them yesterday. They breathe the same shallow breaths. They move through the same automatic motions. They become prisoners of their own morning routine, never realizing that these first moments of consciousness hold the power to reshape their entire existence. You see, there exists a paradox that ancient wisdom has whispered for thousands of years, yet modern minds have forgotten: the warrior who conquers without fighting, the master who leads without forcing, the morning that transforms everything by changing nothing but your awareness, that pull towards something greater, that quiet voice that speaks when the world is still silent. This is not coincidence. This is the call of your truest self, the one that exists before thought, before reaction, before the day's chaos begins to dictate your inner state. Does it struggle against the sunrise? Does it fight to be illuminated? No, it simply exists in perfect stillness, and the light naturally finds it. The mountain does not earn the sunrise. The mountain receives it. You are both the mountain and the sunrise, the observer and the observed, the stillness and the light. But here lies humanity's greatest tragedy. Most people treat their mornings like a race they've already lost. They jolt awake to alarms. They immediately check their phones. They feed their minds with noise before they've even acknowledged the silence that holds all possibilities. They mistake urgency for importance. They confuse busyness with aliveness. They believe that winning the day means attacking it with force, never understanding that true victory comes from a different kind of power entirely. Listen carefully. The quality of your morning determines the quality of your entire day. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are in those first precious moments of consciousness. Think of a seed buried deep in the earth. It does not struggle to become a tree. It does not force its growth. Yet within that tiny seed exists the potential for something magnificent. The seed simply aligns with natural law. It receives what is offered. It responds to light. It grows from inner wisdom, not outer pressure. Your morning consciousness is that seed. Every day you have the choice to nurture it or neglect it, to honor its potential or ignore its power. Most people choose neglect, without ever realizing they're making a choice at all. They wake up and immediately begin thinking about their problems. They rehearse their worries. They practice their limitations. They strengthen the very patterns they claim they want to change. What if there was another way? What if the path to extraordinary days began not with action but with awareness, not with doing, but with being, not with force but with presence? Ancient traditions understood this. The warrior monk rising before dawn, the sage greeting the sun in meditation, the master who begins each day by returning to the source of all power, the stillness within. But you don't need to be a monk. You don't need to retreat to a mountain. You don't need to abandon your life to transform it. You need only to understand one fundamental truth. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your circumstances. You are the awareness in which all of these things arise and pass away. And in the morning before the day's drama begins, this awareness is most accessible, most pure, most powerful. This is why the morning is sacred, not because of any religious belief but because of a simple fact. In those first moments of consciousness you have the opportunity to choose who you will be for the entire day ahead. Most people miss this opportunity completely. They sleepwalk from bed to routine to reaction. They become victims of their own unconsciousness. But you can choose differently. Right now, as you listen to these words, you can feel the truth in them. There's something stirring in you, a recognition, a remembering of something you've always known but perhaps forgotten. This is your original nature calling, the part of you that exists before conditioning, before programming, before the world told you who you should be and how you should live. The ancient texts speak of this as Buddha nature, or Christ consciousness, or simply awakened awareness. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that this potential lives within you right now, waiting, available, ready to transform your entire experience of being alive. But here's what most people don't understand. This transformation doesn't require years of practice. It doesn't demand perfect conditions. It doesn't need special knowledge or expensive courses. It requires only one thing: the willingness to meet your morning with consciousness instead of automaticity. When you wake up tomorrow, you will face a choice. You can continue the pattern of unconscious morning habits, or you can breathe. You can remember who you truly are beneath all the noise and rush and constant doing. The master knows this secret. The true warrior understands this power. The enlightened being lives this truth. They know that every morning is a death and rebirth. Yesterday's version of you dies in sleep. Tomorrow's version of you is born in consciousness. And you get to choose which version emerges. Will it be the reactive version, the one governed by habit and circumstance? The one that wakes up already defeated by thoughts of what needs to be done and problems that need to be solved? Or will it be the aware version, the one that recognizes the miracle of consciousness itself, the one that understands that your state of being determines your quality of experience far more than your external circumstances ever could? This choice is not made once, it's made every single morning. Every single moment you become conscious, every single breath you take. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop trying so hard to win the day, the moment you stop forcing and pushing and struggling, the moment you simply become present to what is mice, that's when you actually begin to win. Not through conquest, but through alignment. Not through force, but through flow. Not through doing more, but through being more aware. The river doesn't struggle to reach the ocean. It simply follows its natural path, moving around obstacles, always moving toward its destination. It wins not by fighting the landscape, but by understanding it, by working with it, by flowing with it. Your morning can become like that river. Purposeful yet peaceful, directed yet relaxed, powerful yet effortless. But first you must understand what you're actually fighting against, what keeps you trapped in unconscious patterns, what makes you wake up defeated before you've even begun. The answer might surprise you. It's not your circumstances, it's not your schedule, it's not even your responsibilities, it's your relationship with your own mind. Most people are servants to their thoughts. They believe every thought that arises. They follow every mental command. They live in reaction to the constant chatter in their heads. But thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are not truths. Thoughts are simply mental events arising in consciousness, your consciousness. And you have the power to observe them without being controlled by them, to witness them without becoming them, to watch them without believing them. This is the first skill of morning mastery, learning to be the observer of your inner experience rather than its victim. When you wake up and immediately begin worrying about the day ahead, you're not witnessing your thoughts, you're becoming them. When you feel overwhelmed by your to-do list before you've even gotten out of bed, you're not observing your emotions, you're identifying with them. But what if you could wake up and simply notice these patterns? What if you could observe your thoughts and emotions With the same detached awareness, you might watch clouds passing in the sky. The clouds are not you. The sky is not disturbed by their presence. The sky simply provides the space in which clouds can appear and disappear. You are like that sky. Vast, open, undisturbed by the mental weather patterns that come and go. And when you remember this truth in the morning, when you reconnect with this spacious awareness that you truly are, everything changes. Your problems don't disappear, but your relationship to them transforms. Your responsibilities remain, but you approach them from a different state of being. Your challenges persist, but you meet them with a quality of consciousness that makes all the difference. This is what it means to win the morning. Not by accomplishing more, but by being more aware. Not by doing better, but by seeing more clearly. Not by changing your external circumstances, but by transforming your internal landscape. And from this transformed internal landscape, right action naturally arises. Wisdom naturally flows. Solutions naturally appear. Not because you're forcing them, but because you've created the inner conditions that allow them to emerge. Think of a master craftsman. Does he attack his work with desperate energy? Does he force the clay, or the wood, or the stone to become something it's not meant to be? He approaches his craft with presence, with awareness, with deep respect for the material he's working with. He moves with skill and intention, but never with desperation or force. He knows that the greatest creations come not from forcing, but from listening. Not from imposing his will, but from discovering what wants to emerge. Your life is your craft. Your consciousness is your tool. Your morning is your workshop. And right now, you have the opportunity to approach this craft with the same mastery, the same presence, the same deep awareness that creates true art. But mastery requires practice. Not the practice of doing more, but the practice of being more conscious. Not the practice of adding activities to your morning, but the practice of adding awareness to whatever you're already doing. Can you brush your teeth with complete presence? Can you drink your first sip of water with total awareness? Can you take your first breath of the day as if it were the most important breath you've ever taken? This is where transformation begins. Not in dramatic changes or perfect conditions, but in bringing consciousness to the most ordinary moments of your morning routine. Because here's what the masters know. There are no ordinary moments. There are only moments when you're present and moments when you're not. And when you're truly present, mighties, when you're fully awake to the miracle of this moment. Ordinary moments become extraordinary. Simple actions become sacred. Routine becomes ritual. Your morning stops being something you endure and becomes something you savor. Your day stops being something you survive and becomes something you create. This is the power that lies dormant in every dawn. This is the potential that waits for you every morning. This is the choice that can transform everything without changing anything except your awareness. The question is, will you answer the call? Will you meet tomorrow's sunrise with the consciousness it deserves? Will you finally stop trying to win the day through force and instead win it through presence? The path is simple, but it requires courage. The courage to slow down in a world obsessed with speed. The courage to be still in a culture of constant motion. The courage to be present in an age of endless distraction. But this courage, this choice, this moment of conscious awareness, this is where your true power lives. This is where your authentic self waits. This is where the transformation you've been seeking has always been available. Not in the future, not in better circumstances, not in perfect conditions. Right here, right now. In your very next conscious breath, in your very next aware moment. in your very next morning greeting with the infinite potential that lives within you. The paradox remains. Stop trying to win the day, and you'll finally begin to win it. Stop forcing your morning, and it will start to flow. Stop being a victim of your consciousness, and you'll become its master. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. And it will be yours again tomorrow when the sun rises and consciousness awakens, and you remember once more that you are not just a human being having a spiritual experience, but a spiritual being having a human experience. And that experience, that precious human experience, begins fresh every morning with the first conscious breath you choose to take. But who is choosing? Who is breathing? Who is aware that you are aware? Stand at the edge of a mirror right now. Look into your own eyes. What do you see? Most people see their face, their features, their physical form. But look closer. Look past the surface. What is looking back at you? That awareness, staring back, might edge that conscious presence behind your eyes. That is not your thoughts. That is not your emotions. That is not your story, or your history, or your identity. That is the observer, the witness, the one who watches it all. And this observer is the most powerful force in your entire existence. Every morning, you have two choices. You can wake up identified with your thoughts and emotions, believing you are the story in your head. Or you can wake up as the observer, recognizing that you are the awareness in which all stories arise and dissolve. Most people spend their entire lives never meeting their observer self. They live completely identified with their thinking mind. They believe they are their thoughts, rather than the one who witnesses them. When anger arises, they say, "I am angry," instead of "I observe anger arising in consciousness." When fear appears, they say, "I am afraid," instead of "I witness fear moving through awareness." When sadness comes, they say, "I am sad," instead of "I notice sadness appearing and will soon pass away." Can you feel the difference? Can you sense the freedom in that shift? You are not the weather patterns of your mind. You are the sky in which they appear. The mountain does not become the clouds that pass over it. The ocean does not become the waves that move across its surface. The mirror does not become the images reflected in it. And you do not become the thoughts and emotions that arise in your consciousness. This morning, when you first open your eyes, there will be a moment, just a brief moment, before your thinking mind starts its daily commentary. In that moment, you are pure awareness, pure presence, pure being. Most people miss this moment completely. Their thoughts immediately begin, "What time is it? What do I need to do today? How did I sleep? What are my problems?" But you can learn to extend that moment, to rest in it, to recognize it as your truest nature. Ask yourself right now, who is aware of your thoughts? When you think, "I need to get ready for work," who is aware of that thought? When you feel worried about the day ahead, who is aware of that worry? The one who is aware cannot be the same as what it is aware of. The observer cannot be the observed. The witness cannot be what it witnesses. You are the observer, always have been, always will be. But this is not just philosophy. This is practical power that can transform your entire morning experience. When you wake up as the observer instead of the reactor, everything shifts. Problems that seemed overwhelming the night before appear as temporary experiences moving through awareness. Emotions that felt so solid and permanent reveal themselves as passing energies that come and go like weather. Your thoughts lose their grip on you because you remember that you are not your thoughts. You are the space in which they appear. Think of watching a movie. When you're completely absorbed in the story, you forget you're sitting in a theater. You identify with the characters. You feel their emotions as if they were your own. You react to their circumstances as if they were happening to you. But when you remember you're watching a movie, everything changes. You can still enjoy the story, but you're no longer lost in it. You can feel the emotions, but you know they're not yours. You can follow the plot, but you remember it's not real. Your thoughts and emotions are like that movie, and you are the one watching. When you wake up identified with the movie, you suffer. When you wake up remembering you're the watcher, you're free. The observer self doesn't judge what it sees. It doesn't try to change what arises. It simply witnesses with perfect equanimity. Like a clear mountain lake reflecting the sky, it shows everything exactly as it is without distortion. Can you bring this quality of awareness to your morning thoughts? Can you observe your mental patterns without immediately trying to fix them or change them or figure them out? This morning when worry arises, instead of asking how do I stop worrying, ask who is aware of this worry. Instead of fighting your anxiety, notice who is observing the anxiety. Instead of being consumed by your to-do list, recognize who is aware of the mental planning. The one who is aware is never disturbed by what it observes. Awareness itself is always at peace. But you might ask, if I'm just observing everything, how will anything get done? If I don't identify with my thoughts and emotions, how will I be motivated to act? This is the beautiful paradox of the observer self. When you stop being driven by unconscious reactions, you become available for conscious responses. When you stop being pushed around by every thought and emotion, you can act from wisdom instead of compulsion. The observer doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful, because when you know you are not your thoughts, you can choose which thoughts to follow. When you know you are not your emotions, you can choose how to respond to them. Right now, notice your breathing. Are you controlling each breath, or is breathing happening by itself? Are you making your heart beat, or is it beating automatically? Are you growing your hair and nails, or is this happening without your effort? Most of your body's functions happen without any conscious control from you. Yet somehow this miraculous organism continues to function perfectly. There is an intelligence at work that is far greater than your thinking mind. An intelligence that knows how to heal cuts, digest food, and maintain the trillions of cells in your body without any help from your conscious thoughts. This same intelligence is what's aware through your eyes right now, what's listening through your ears, what's breathing through your lungs. You are not separate from this intelligence, you are this intelligence temporarily focused through a human form. And every morning you have the opportunity to remember this truth, to reconnect with this deeper intelligence, to align with this greater awareness. But it requires a shift in identity, from believing you are the small thinking self to remembering you are the vast observing self. The small self says, I have so much to do today. I'm stressed about this meeting. I'm worried about that deadline. I don't have enough time. I'm not good enough. I need to figure everything out. The observing self says, I notice thoughts about being busy. I witness concern arising about the meeting. I see worry appearing about the deadline. I observe stories about time and adequacy. I watch the mind trying to solve everything. Can you feel the space that opens up in the second approach? Can you sense the freedom in being the observer rather than the observed? This is not about becoming detached or uncaring. This is about becoming truly caring from a place of wisdom rather than unconscious reaction. When you're identified with your thoughts and emotions, you can only react from that limited perspective. But when you're established as the observer, you have access to a much broader range of responses. You can still feel emotions, but you're not overwhelmed by them.
You can still think, but you're not imprisoned by your thoughts. You can still care about outcomes, but you're not destroyed when things don't go as planned. The master archer doesn't become the arrow. The musician doesn't become the music. The artist doesn't become the painting. They remain centered, aware, present to the creative process while allowing their skill to flow through them. Your life is your creative process. Your consciousness is your medium. Your observer self is the artist who remains present and aware while the masterpiece unfolds. Every morning offers you the chance to step into this role, to remember who you truly are, to reconnect with the awareness that has been watching through your eyes since the day you were born.
That awareness has never been troubled by your problems. It has never been diminished by your failures. It has never been enhanced by your successes. It simply is pure, present, aware, and it is available to you right now in this very moment as you listen to these words. Not as a future goal to attain, but as your present reality to recognize the observer self is not something you need to become. It is what you already are, underneath all the identification with thoughts and emotions and stories. Tomorrow morning, when consciousness first awakens in your body, you will have a choice. You can immediately identify with the first thoughts that arise, or you can rest for a moment in the awareness that is aware of those thoughts. You can become the story of your day before it even begins, or you can remain as the witness who watches the story unfold. One path leads to unconscious reaction, the other leads to conscious response. One path makes you a victim of your inner experience, the other makes you the master of it. The choice, as always, is yours. But now you know what the choice actually is. Now you understand the power that becomes available when you remember who is really looking through your eyes. This recognition, this remembering of your observer nature is the foundation upon which all other morning mastery is built. Because when you know who you are, you can begin to choose how you want to respond to what arises in your experience. And how you respond in those first moments of consciousness sets the tone for everything that follows. But what does this actually look like when you step out of bed? How do you carry this awareness into the bathroom mirror, into your morning routine, into the ordinary moments that most people sleepwalk through? This is where theory becomes transformation, where understanding becomes embodiment, where knowing becomes being. The enlightened morning is not about adding complicated practices to your routine. It's about bringing extraordinary awareness to whatever you're already doing. Consider two people, both wake at the same time. Both follow similar morning routines. Both face similar challenges throughout their day. The first person jolts awake to an alarm, immediately checks the time, feels rushed before even getting out of bed, stumbles to the bathroom while mentally rehearsing the day's problems, brushes teeth while worrying about that meeting, drinks coffee while scrolling through news, leaves the house already feeling behind, reactive, scattered. This person is living in what we might call ordinary consciousness, functional, but unconscious, alive but not truly awake. The second person wakes naturally or to the same alarm, but receives the sound differently, takes 3 conscious breaths before opening their eyes, feels their body resting in the bed for a moment, stands up with awareness of the transition from horizontal to vertical, walks to the bathroom present to each step, looks in the mirror and recognizes the observer looking back, brushes teeth with full attention to the sensation and movement, drinks water or coffee as if tasting it for the first time, prepares for the day from a place of centered awareness rather than anxious urgency. Same routine, completely different experience.
Entirely different quality of consciousness. Which life would you choose? Which morning would you rather live? The difference between these two experiences is not found in external circumstances. It's found in the quality of attention brought to each moment. And this quality of attention is entirely within your control. Right now, become aware of your posture. Notice how you're sitting or standing. Feel the points of contact between your body and whatever is supporting it. Are you present to these sensations, or were you completely unconscious of them until I mentioned them? This is the practice. This is the path. This is how transformation happens. One conscious moment at a time. Your morning routine becomes a series of opportunities to practice presence. Each action becomes a chance to remember who you are. Every transition becomes a moment to choose awareness over automaticity. When your feet touch the floor, can you feel the contact? When you turn on the water, can you hear the sound as if for the first time? When you look in the mirror, can you see beyond the face to the awareness looking through the eyes? These are not special spiritual practices. These are ordinary moments elevated by extraordinary attention. The Master knows that there are no ordinary moments, only moments when we're awake and moments when we're asleep. And gradually, as you bring this quality of awareness to your morning routine, something remarkable begins to happen. The routine transforms into ritual. The mundane becomes sacred. The automatic becomes conscious. You begin to move through your morning with the presence of a meditation in motion. Each breath becomes an anchor to the present moment. Each action becomes an opportunity to practice mastery. But true integration requires understanding how this morning awareness ripples out into the rest of your day and ultimately the rest of your life. When you begin your day from a place of centered awareness rather than reactive urgency, you create what we might call a momentum of consciousness. Like a stone thrown into still water, the ripples spread outward, affecting everything they touch. You respond to challenges from a different place. You interact with people from a different quality of presence. You make decisions from a different level of awareness. Your colleagues notice something different about you, though they might not be able to name what it is. There's a quality of calm confidence, of centered strength, of present moment awareness that is magnetic and inspiring. Your family experiences you differently. You're more patient with your children because you're not lost in mental projections about the future. You're more present with your partner because you're not rehearsing the day's anxieties. Your work becomes more effortless because you're approaching tasks from presence rather than pressure. Solutions appear more easily because your mind is clear rather than cluttered. Creativity flows more freely because you're connected to the source of all inspiration, the aware presence that you are. This is the compound effect of conscious mornings. Small shifts in awareness create massive changes in experience. But let's be practical. How do you actually implement this transformation? How do you move from understanding these principles to living them? The key is to start simple and stay consistent. Choose one aspect of your morning routine, thus just one presence, and commit to bringing total awareness to it for the next 7 days. Perhaps it's the first 3 breaths you take upon waking. Maybe it's the process of washing your face. It could be the way you prepare and drink your first glass of water. Whatever you choose, approach it with the reverence of a sacred practice. Not because you need to make it spiritual, but because conscious attention naturally reveals the sacred in the ordinary. When you drink that first sip of water, taste it completely. Feel the temperature, notice the sensation of swallowing, appreciate the miracle of hydration happening in your body.
without any conscious effort on your part. When you wash your face, feel the water against your skin. Notice the temperature change. Be present to this simple act of cleansing that marks the transition from sleep to wakefulness. When you take those first conscious breaths, feel the air entering your nostrils. Notice your ribcage expanding. Appreciate the automatic intelligence that has been breathing you throughout the night without any help from your thinking mind. This is not about perfection. This is about practice. Not about getting it right every time, but about returning to awareness when you notice you've drifted into automaticity. And you will drift. This is natural. This is human. The practice is not to never lose awareness, but to gently return to it when you realize you've been absent. Think of training a puppy. When it wanders off, you don't punish it harshly. You simply guide it back to where you want it to be. You do this with patience, kindness, consistency. Your attention is like that puppy. It will wander into thoughts about the future, regrets about the past, judgments about the present. When you notice this has happened, you simply guide your attention back to the moment at hand. This gentle returning is the practice. This kind redirection is the path. This patient training of attention is how transformation happens. As you become more skilled at maintaining awareness during your chosen morning practice, you can gradually expand to include other aspects of your routine, but always building on the foundation of one consistent conscious practice. The master craftsman doesn't try to create a masterpiece on the first day. They perfect one technique, then another, until eventually their entire approach is masterful. Your morning consciousness is your craft. Your attention is your tool. Your daily routine is your canvas. And with patient, consistent practice, you can create something truly beautiful. But remember, the goal is not to create the perfect morning routine. The goal is to use your morning routine as a training ground for presence, as a laboratory for awareness, as a daily opportunity to remember who you truly are. Some mornings will feel easy and natural. Others will feel challenging and resistant. Both are perfect opportunities for practice. On the easy mornings, you learn what's possible when you're aligned with your natural awareness. On the difficult mornings, you learn how to return to center when life feels off balance. Both types of mornings are gifts. Both are teachers. Both offer exactly what you need for your continued awakening. And gradually, over weeks and months of consistent practice, you begin to notice that the quality of consciousness you've been cultivating in the morning starts to become available throughout the day. You find yourself naturally pausing before reacting to challenging situations. You notice space between events and your responses to them. You discover that you can choose your state of being regardless of external circumstances. This is the true victory, not winning against your problems, but transforming your relationship to them, not eliminating challenges, but meeting them from a different quality of consciousness. You begin to understand what the ancient sages meant when they spoke of being in the world but not of it, fully engaged with life but not enslaved by it, completely present to experience, but not imprisoned by circumstances. This freedom is not found in changing your external situation. It's found in transforming your internal landscape. And that transformation begins fresh every morning with your first conscious breath. But here's what might surprise you. This practice of morning awareness doesn't just change your personal experience. It changes your impact on the world around you. When you're established in present moment awareness, you become a force for peace in a chaotic world. When you're centered in your observer nature, you become a source of stability for others who are lost in reactivity. Your consciousness becomes contagious. Your presence becomes a gift. Your awareness becomes a service.
People are drawn to those who are truly present because presence is the rarest commodity in our distracted world. In a culture of constant doing, being becomes revolutionary. In an age of endless noise, silence becomes powerful. You don't need to preach or teach or try to change anyone else. You simply need to embody the transformation you want to see, to be the awareness you want to experience, to live the presence you want to share. And this embodiment begins every morning when you choose consciousness over unconsciousness, awareness over automaticity, presence over reactivity. The ripple effects are limitless. Your awakened presence touches everyone you encounter throughout the day. Your centered awareness influences every situation you enter. Your conscious responses create space for others to respond consciously as well. This is how the world changes, all one conscious person at a time, one aware interaction at a time, one present moment at a time. And it all begins with how you choose to meet your morning. So tomorrow, when consciousness first stirs in your body, remember this moment. Remember these words. Remember the choice that stands before you. You can wake up as you always have, immediately lost in the day's concerns and tomorrow's worries. Or you can wake up as the aware presence that you've always been, temporarily focused through human experience, for the purpose of bringing consciousness to this world. The choice is always yours. The power is always available. The transformation is always possible. Not someday. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you've read more books or attended more seminars or figured everything out. Right now, tomorrow morning, in your very next conscious breath. The moment you stop trying to win the day through force and instead win it through presence, you discover something extraordinary. You were never separate from the victory you were seeking. You are the victory. You are the awareness that remains untouched by life's storms. You are the presence that brings peace to every situation. You are the consciousness that transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. This is not philosophy. This is not theory. This is the living truth of who you are right now. In this moment, as you listen to these words, with the same awareness that will be available to you tomorrow morning when you open your eyes. The sun rises every day, whether you're awake to witness it or not. But when you're truly present to greet the dawn, you realize that you and the sunrise are one consciousness expressing itself as the eternal dance of awareness awakening to itself. This is your invitation. This is your opportunity. This is your moment to choose. Win the morning by remembering who you are. Win the day by staying connected to that truth. Win your life by living from the awareness that has always been your deepest nature.
The paradox resolves itself. Stop trying to win, and you discover you've already won. Stop trying to become conscious, and you realize you've always been consciousness itself. Welcome to your awakened morning. Welcome to your transformed day. Welcome to your conscious life. The sun is always rising somewhere, and that somewhere can be the landscape of your own awareness, illuminated by the light of your own presence, every single morning for the rest of your extraordinary life.